Hello, that was the Hothouse Flowers, and now look what we have here. He was born in 1836, and he was fired by Car Magazine, fired by Autocar Magazine, fired by Scotland on Sunday, and somehow he managed to get fired by a Volvo dealership. Probably for driving too slowly. Ladies and gentlemen, James May!
It seems Mr. May has arrived in a driving instructor's car.
This is a Renault Clio, but it's the Cup version. And it is, pound for pound, the most exciting car on sale. Not my words, not my words, the words of Autocar magazine.
Autocar?
Yes.
The magazine that sacked you?
Yes, and...
Round 3 is the odd one out round. Ian and James, your 4R. Paul Wolfowitz, Leroy Rossinier, James Johnson, and James May.
I think this is to do with resigning, because Wolfowitz has just resigned as head of the World Bank.
Yep.
He was employing his girlfriend, and he got a very good pay deal for her. That man, is that James Johnson?
Bottom left.
He's resigned over the fact that junior doctors can't get jobs.
Yes.
There was a government scheme to put everything on computers, so that at a press of a button now, you can't get a job. And have you resigned from something?
No. But
you're about to.
I think you're reading too much into it. I think I'm the odd one out because I'm the only one with a toy car stuck in my mouth.
Paul Wolfowitz may have a toy car stuck somewhere else, judging by that.
James is the odd one out because he's the only one who can't remember anything.
That's exactly right. That's the right answer. They've all lost their jobs in the last week, apart from James May, who was fired from Autocar magazine so long ago he can't remember why, apart from the fact that it did involve the word arse. You really not remember?
Yeah,
Is this true?
Yes. I was the...
What was I? It was such a long time
No,
ago. No, I know what it was. No, I can't remember.
God, it really must be Top Gear.
The reason I was fired from Autocar was because I was the production editor and I edited together the road test yearbook, and it had 101 car tests, each beginning with a big capital letter, and I rewrote them all over the course of several months, so it spelled out a huge long message.
The message said something like, you might think this is a really great thing, but if you were sitting here making it up, you'd realise it's a right pain in the arse. And he was fired after some readers spotted the hidden message and wrote in thinking they'd won a prize.
That's right.
Yeah. We contacted the editor of Autocar to see if they might have a copy of the magazine.
Yeah.
They said, I know you guys, I know what you do, and I don't want to be pilloried. If you think you can find the magazine, then good luck to you, but I'm not going to help you make us look stupid. Here he is.
So we decided to lend it to Britain's oldest motoring magazine for an independent review. They test all the latest cars and innovations, and to make sure they didn't realise who were the brains behind the Eagle Head eye hammer, we had it dropped off by an anonymous driver.
Hello, how can I help you?
All we could do now was wait for their verdict.
Hi, my name is James May. I'm about to give you a guide to getting fired, with the caveat that my advice to people is that 90% of all advice is rubbish. Me being fired from Autocar, now this is something that happened a very long time ago, 1992. Well, I was bored, to be honest, and I had the job of putting together what we called the road test yearbook. So it was 100 road tests from that year, and each one started with a great big red letter, because that was very fashionable in magazine design. And it was my job to edit it and assemble it. So I changed all the beginnings of the stories, rewrote the first sentences so that the big red letters spelled out a message about me being bored doing it, and it said, so you think this is really good, but you should try making it up, it's a real pain in the arse, which I thought was hilarious, but the management didn't. I was called into the managing director's office, and he was in a steaming range going, "What were you thinking of?" You know, and I think, well, I thought it was quite a good idea. I don't really understand what their beef was, because there'd been stories in the Sun and the Mail. It had made it into the UK Press Gazette. I think it had been mentioned on the radio. It was great publicity, and that issue sold out, and it's now quite collectible and worth a couple of £100 at sort of specialist car magazine stalls at motor shows. But they didn't like it. And they fired me, and I had to walk home. I had a company car then with Autocar, but I wasn't allowed to take it, so I had to walk. It was about 8 miles.
I know. Now we have been sent advanced copies of the magazine that has reviewed our car. Here it is. We're on the cover!
We have it!
We're on the cover!
We have!
Right, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
There's the eagle.
Right, here we go.
It says in the ride and handling section, where they deal with things like the chassis, that to all intents and purposes, the Hammerhead Eagle Eye Thrust has no ride or handling as such. Instead, it lurches around almost uncontrollably.
Oh, God almighty. No, it gets worse. Listen to this, okay? They say that in the highway code, they say the stopping distance from 70 miles an hour is 215 feet. That our car stopping from 30 miles an hour took 549 feet.
Well, who's really going to do that in the real world?
It's ridiculous.
The styling is unlikely to win fans amongst those of us blessed with the gift of sight.
Bastards!
What do people who review cars actually know?
Exactly.
I mean, the car turns
Exactly.
up. No, let's think about it. It turns up, it's delivered,
Yeah.
it's free, they
Yeah.
haven't had to invest any money or time or anything. They just drive it around for a bit and then they
Car reviewers.
write rubbish.
Anybody can criticise, try
Yes,
actually
exactly.
making
Yes.
something, and then reading things like, try to regain front-end grip by braking and the fronts will simply lock, at which point you will crash. That could hurt sales.
How I was fired from Autocar in 1992. I've never really talked about this very much. It's been quite widely reported, but never entirely accurately. I was the production editor at the time. It was the first job I'd had in anything to do with cars, car journalism, and I had to put together the road test yearbook, which was 100 cars that we tested over the years, over that year rather, and when I say we, I mean the road test department, and each road test was condensed into a column of about 150 words, a sort of précis, and there were 4 per spread, and each one stopped with a big shadowed drop capital, you know, the massive letter you have at the beginning, very fashionable in magazine design at the time. And I had to edit all these to make them fit and make them fit on the page. This is the early days of desktop publishing, and I'd learned a bit about it. So I carefully rewrote all the stories so that the big red letters would spell a message as you went through the pages, which was quite difficult, because if you need a story that begins with an A or a B, that's not difficult, but occasionally you need one beginning with something like a K, and that is tricky to contrive a paragraph. And I had to get all the sub-editors on side as well to make sure that as it went through the system they didn't think, oh, that sentence is a bit clumsy, which some of them were obviously, and change it. That's the police, they've actually heard about this. And it all went into the magazine, and it said, you know, road test yearbook, you think this is really great, but you should try making the bloody thing up. It's a real pain in the arse. It took months to do that, and it took months to get it printed, and I'd sort of forgotten about it. And I came into work on the day it came out, and the whole office was completely silent. And I'd arrived slightly late because I was doing something else in the morning, and they said, you're wanted in the managing director's office. I'd never even met him. So I went up and knocked on the door, you know, polished my shoes on the back of my trousers, and I went in and he said, you're fired. And I said, well, it's a good idea, it's in the paper. Surely that's brilliant. He says, no, you're fired. And I had to walk home. It was 8 miles. I used to get a car with the job, but they wouldn't let me drive it home. I had to walk. And as a result of that, I was ruined.